Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of AA Entertainment. This being the month of October, I'm trying to squeeze in as many horror-themed videos as I can. And originally for today's topic, I wanted to discuss my top 10 favorite horror short films, but a couple of feature-length films have managed to sneak through the cracks and ended up on this list. But I need to talk about them anyways, and this is my channel, so we're keeping it that way. So for today, here are my top 10 favorite experimental horror films. At number 10, David Lynch's The Alphabet. This 1969 short is one of David Lynch's earliest and more unusual pieces. A woman is lying in bed in a dark room, and in the background we hear children reciting the alphabet. We then see weird shapes and forms transmogrify into an absurdist nightmare, including Picasso-esque phalluses and lots of random spurts of blood, a grotesque human mouth, and quick cuts to the woman panicking. The film then ends with the woman reciting the complete alphabet. I must have watched this short film dozens of times and still have no clue what it's about, but I still love it. To be fair though, any of David Lynch's films would stump Freud. And as much as I love David Lynch, I'm pretty sure this film would have been a whole lot better if David Lynch hired Nicolas Cage to just recite the alphabet. At number 9, The Wolf House. Imagine combining the early short films of David Lynch and the style of Alfred Hitchcock's Rope, and you're about 1/4 of the way there. This 2018 Chilean stop-motion animation film tells the story of a young woman, Maria, who ran away from home in hopes of escaping the occupation of a sect of German religious fanatics. She seeks refuge in a secluded house in southern Chile in the middle of the woods and is cornered by a predatory wolf. In this home she manages to raise 2 children. Food is running low, as well as other necessities, and the children are beginning to turn on their own mother. I watched this one night incredibly sleep deprived, and I felt mentally violated. I woke up the next morning to finish it, and it was the equivalent of ripping off a scab. It's definitely worth a watch, and it's one I constantly recommend to my friends whenever they ask for obscure film recommendations. At number 8, Clive Barker's Salome. Salome is a 1973 short British horror film produced and directed by the literary Prince of Darkness Clive Barker. Although I am unsure of whether or not it's inspired or even based on the Oscar Wilde play, Clive Barker is a well-spoken British writer with charm, so I wouldn't be surprised if it is. It's pretty much impossible to get a straight story out of the film, although it's spooky as all hell and the visuals are superb. A young woman is seen smiling. Then dressed in ceremonial garments, she stands in front of a white wall splattered with, I can't believe it's not ketchup. The camera zooms into a dark room in which we hear growls. Giving into her curiosity, she enters and meets Jim Morrison's long-lost twin brother. They kiss, then he strangles her. All the while, a weird, mysterious figure looms over Salome, and we even see their eyes painted in blood on the white wall. Salome then dances around a bonfire, and well, that's all, folks. I'm a massive fan of Clive Barker and read every book of his I can get my hands on, and even though I am a fan of his films such as Hellraiser and Nightbreed, I would like to travel to an alternate reality where he directed more original films in this style. Salome is a must-see, and despite being a student film, it's a masterpiece and is an ideal example of an artist mastering a medium out of their comfort zone. At number 7, Karate Ipeji, or A Page of Madness. Heavily influenced by the critically acclaimed The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, Japanese director Tanosuke Kinogasa ventured out to emulate the German expressionist masterpiece by directing his own low-budget, abstract film set in an insane asylum. Amidst a torrential rainfall, a lonely and elderly janitor goes about his job in the insane asylum, and we get glimpses of the various patients, one of whom is his wife, driven to insanity by the abuse she endured from her husband. The janitor's guilt begins to interfere with his job, and he even begins to fight off other prisoners who try to do any harm to her. The janitor then begins to experience various fantasies, mostly about masks and sharing them with the other prisoners. Obviously this film is a favorite of mine, and I first watched it when I was a freshman in high school, and look forward to watching it every day when I got home from school. Not to mention the Japanese style of filmmaking and music and settings combined with German expressionism is pure gold. At number 6, Meshes of the Afternoon. Written, directed, produced by, and starring Maya Deren, this 1943 short is without a doubt one of those films that will leave you speechless. A woman falls asleep. Once she returns home and is taunted by nightmarish hallucinations, that may or may not be real and is stalked by a mysterious figure with a flat mirror for a face. Though distortions of reality through camera manipulation, her deepest fears and desires become the main focus. Meshes of the Afternoon is an absolutely breathtaking film that everyone must see. The camera movements and the sets and costumes will surely blow your socks off, and despite the abstract nature of the film, it all speaks for itself. Not to mention the fact that it was written, produced, directed by, and stars a woman in 1943. It's quite a cinematic milestone. Also, it's a favorite of David Lynch. At number 5, Unchained. Directed by the legendary Luis Buñuel and written by him as well as Salvador Dali, the two Spanish artists who defined and defied a generation with their surrealist and socio-political styles came up with the idea for this famous and iconic yet incredibly disturbing film when Luis Buñuel dreamed of a cloud slicing the moon in half and Salvador Dali dreamed of ants crawling through a human hand. This film opens up with a shot of a cloud slicing the moon in half, interspersed with a man cutting a woman's eye open with a razor blade. Yeah, this film isn't for the faint of heart. As the film progresses, Buñuel shows us intense, surreal scenes along with outright disturbing shit. Even if you haven't seen the film, you more than likely saw this image before. It's also worth noting that David Bowie would often screen the incredibly disturbing short film before his concerts. I feel bad for teenage girls who are obsessed with Labyrinth. At number 4, Begotten. Directed by E. Elias Meraji in 1990, the story of Begotten begins with God literally committing suicide by disemboweling himself with a razor. After that, and bear with me as I struggle to keep this PG, Mother Earth emerges from behind a curtain and plants the seed of Son of Earth from God's phallus. Yeah, it's a wild movie. As the film progresses, Mother Earth more or less abandons Son of Earth, was then brutalized and tortured by a group of nomads whom accept his internal organs, which he graphically vomits up as a gift. Mother Earth then returns to him and is as well violated and brutalized. This film is the antithesis to the biblical epics directed by Cecil B. DeMille and starring Charlton Heston. I first saw the trailer to Begotten on the special features for the Shadow of the Vampire DVD, and for years it was my Candle Cove. I first watched it in its entirety when I was a freshman in high school. As more and more YouTubers started using this image as clickbait for creepy videos, the film started to gain a fan following. It was after seeing this at a film festival that inspired Nicolas Cage to produce Meraji's next film, Shadow of the Vampire. At number 3, Street of Crocodiles. Written and directed by Stephen, Timothy, and Weiser Quay, Street of Crocodiles is a bizarre 1986 stop-motion animation short that takes place entirely in a musty box full of puppets, dolls, and other miscellaneous curios. After a puppet comes loose from its strings, it ventures off into a dark and dreary world, lost in the eerie and uncanny enchantment. The puppet becomes enveloped in the desolate ossuary. This film is mind-boggling, and the breathtaking animation is greatly complemented by the music and setting. I am a massive fan of this dark and dreary fantasy short film and highly recommend it to all lovers of cinema, especially for fans of stop-motion animation. At number 2, The Telltale Heart. Given this is much more accessible and straightforward than pretty much any other movie on this list, it's Edgar Allan Poe, and it breathes expressionism, macabre, and morbidity. I first came across this short film when I was in 8th grade, and after we read The Telltale Heart, my amazing English teacher showed us this short film as a treat, and I was grinning from ear to ear from start to finish. We all know and love the macabre story of the blind and helpless old man being stalked by his caretaker, only to be frightened half to death and stopped for the remaining half. This 1971 short film takes shit to the next level with its eerie atmosphere, subtle yet graphic imagery, and it opens up with the chicken being decapitated, then feathered. If the original story spooked you, be prepared to sleep with a nightlight after watching this. At number 1, The Fall of the House of Usher. Yet another film based off of an Edgar Allan Poe short story, directed by James Watson and Melville Webber. This 1928 13-minute film takes home the gold for being the quintessential haunted house horror film of all time. Based on the Edgar Allan Poe short story, a traveler visits the home of Roderick and Madeline Usher, brother and sister. Roderick's worst fear comes to life, almost taking advantage of his paranoia when a family curse takes the life of his sister. Completely distraught, his mind warps and his sister returns from the grave to haunt him. Weber and Watson masterfully take this macabre tale, which fucked me up when I read it as a kid, by adapting the then popular German Expressionism style of filmmaking and combine it with groundbreaking cinematography, enhancing the film's pure eeriness tenfold. I wasn't kidding when I declared this the quintessential haunted house movie, with an Edgar Allan Poe story combined with eerie sets and avant-garde cinematography and German Expressionism. This film is a must-see. Thank you all so much for watching this. My work schedule has been a bit hectic, and I have been working on a current short film project. However, I'm still dead set on releasing at least one more video before Halloween. But in the meantime, please comment down below any recommendations you have for experimental horror films or one of your favorite experimental horror films. And also let me know what you'll be doing for Halloween. Thank you all for watching this, and see you all next time.